I've often pondered what it feels like to be truly seen, especially by those closest to you. My parents, Melissa and Bob, always seemed fixated on my younger brother, Timothy. He was the golden child, a prodigious intellect, excelling in everything our household deemed valuable: recitals, drama, debate. Timothy shone brightly in each performance, and my parents were ever present, applauding with fervent intensity. And then, there was me. Elliot Brown, the athlete, the fighter. My universe revolved around judo mats and boxing rings, sweat, grit, and the exhilarating rush of competition. I thrived on the singular focus of a match, the head-to-head battle where distractions and self-doubt vanished. Yet, despite my numerous trophies and medals, my parents remained oblivious. They never attended a single competition, not district championships, state finals, or even nationals. While Timothy's performances were met with standing ovations and floral tributes, my victories were celebrated only in the silent emptiness of an auditorium, or worse, within my own mind. My only unwavering support came from Coach Joe, a father figure I desperately craved. Coach Joe believed in me when nobody else did. After every match, win or lose, he'd analyze my performance, highlighting my strengths and areas for improvement. He instilled in me the understanding that true strength transcends mere physical power. It's about resilience, about standing tall when the world conspires to knock you down. I'll never forget qualifying for the regional judo finals, a pinnacle moment. My parents' response? A dismissive, "That's nice, dear. When's Timothy's next recital?" It felt like a cruel blow. I stopped sharing my accomplishments. What was the point? At home, Timothy's achievements were displayed like sacred relics, while mine gathered dust in a forgotten corner of my room. I didn't resent Timothy. It wasn't his fault that our parents viewed him as the epitome of success. However, late at night, the injustice gnawed at me. I wondered if my parents even knew who I was. The countless hours of training, the countless blows absorbed, the countless times I'd risen from defeat. Did they care? Or was I merely the other son, the one who never quite fit their idealized family portrait? I ceased seeking their approval, channeling my energy into my sport, proving to myself that I was enough. Joe taught me that validation originates within, not externally. I fought not for their applause, but for myself. In the ring, I wasn't Elliot, the overlooked son. I was Elliot Brown, the fighter, the champion, the man who refused to be invisible. University offered a fresh start, an escape from the suffocating shadow of being the other son. My athletic achievements, not grades or parental wealth, secured my place. Timothy, meanwhile, effortlessly secured admission to a prestigious institution, his future financed by our parents' investment in their golden boy. I left home without looking back, rarely returning, even for holidays. My mother's calls were met with excuses, training, projects, anything to avoid that house where I felt like an outsider. At university, I found someone transformative, Lala. Meeting her felt like the world finally clicked into place. She was warm, intelligent, and saw me as I truly was, unlike anyone before. We bonded over late-night conversations, shared aspirations, and the unspoken understanding of being truly seen. We quickly became inseparable. Lala was the first to believe in me, not for my achievements, but for who I was. When she proposed marriage, I was overjoyed. For the first time, I envisioned a worthwhile future, a family built on genuine care. Her family further solidified this feeling. They were welcoming and genuinely liked me. But introducing her to my family paralyzed me. How could I explain the coldness, the distance, the constant feeling of inadequacy? I didn't want her to witness that side of my life, the part that fueled my self-doubt. Lala, however, gently urged me to bridge the gap, believing in family connections and second chances. Reluctantly, I agreed. Bringing her home felt like entering enemy territory. The house looked the same, but it never felt like home. My parents were politely formal. Timothy, predictably, stole the spotlight, effortlessly charming Lala. Resentment surged within me. The dinner was tense. My parents showered Timothy with attention, while their questions to me felt perfunctory. Thanksgiving loomed. My mother's insistent call prompted my reluctant return. I figured I could endure one awkward dinner. Upon arrival, the familiar sense of displacement returned. My parents were already at the table, sipping wine, far too cheerful. My mother's radiant announcement, Timothy was bringing his fiancée, stunned me. I hadn't known he was seriously dating anyone. I sat there, struggling to feign interest. Then, they walked in. Seeing Lala on Timothy's arm, her smile radiant, displaying a diamond ring, my world stopped. My parents gasped, embracing her like a long-lost daughter. Their laughter mocked me. Lala's smile faltered, her eyes met mine, and I sensed regret or guilt. But it wasn't enough. My mother, oblivious, asked, "Aren't you happy for them, Elliot?" The word happy felt poisonous. Humiliation and rage boiled within me. I clenched my fists, whispering, "I hope you all die in a house fire." The smiles vanished. My parents stared, stunned. Lala's face paled. Timothy remained oblivious. I stormed out, the screech of my chair echoing in the silence. As I drove away, my hands shook. Was I angrier at Lala for her betrayal, Timothy for his theft, or myself for ever believing I deserved better? Thanksgiving was ruined. So was everything else. My family, my past, my future. It all crumbled. For the first time, I didn't care if I ever saw them again. Leaving that house, I was done. With the betrayal, the lies, the constant reminders of my insignificance. My parents, knowing Lala was my girlfriend, rejoiced in welcoming her as Timothy's fiancée. The woman I loved, the woman I thought wanted a future with me, had betrayed me, flaunting it before me. If that wasn't a clear message that I didn't belong in their lives, I didn't know what was. They deserved each other. My brother, always taking what was mine, and Lala, betraying me effortlessly. I didn't want any part of it. That night I blocked all four of them, my parents, Timothy, and Lala, from my phone, erasing all traces of them from my life. At university, I made it clear that I wouldn't acknowledge Lala. She tried to contact me, but I ignored her. She'd made her choice. I considered retaliating against Timothy, but the thought passed. They weren't worth it. I wouldn't risk my future or freedom for petty revenge. Some family members inquired about my absence, and I told them the truth. I don't belong there. Most didn't press further. Cutting them out felt like surfacing after being underwater for too long. The weight lifted. Life wasn't perfect, but it was better, cleaner, quieter. I focused on my training, studies, and those who truly cared. Sometimes, cutting toxic people is survival. For the first time in years, I could finally live. After that chapter closed, I decided I was done with bonds, love, and the inherent messiness. Trust was fragile. I wouldn't let anyone shatter it again. I focused on what I could control, my studies, training, and future. Sports remained my passion, but I accepted that I wouldn't be a boxing or judo champion. The discipline of training propelled me through university and into a fulfilling career at a major automobile manufacturer. I found my place, challenging, rewarding work that provided purpose and structure, shielding me from the ghosts of my past. My life settled into a controlled rhythm. Early mornings at the gym, followed by work, constantly striving for improvement. Evenings were for unwinding, a cold beer, a boxing match on TV. Seeing fighters reignited the spark within me. Home was quiet, and I liked it that way. No drama, no distractions. Some might find it boring, but it was peace. For the first time, I felt in control, unburdened by others' expectations or betrayals. Occasional moments of regret would flicker, but I quickly dismissed them. Love had been a weapon, used to hurt and manipulate. I didn't need it. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. It started with a call, my mother. It felt like a ghost from a buried past. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her voice was calm, but with her usual authoritative edge. "Elliot, you need to come home. It's an emergency." The words hit like a brick wall. I hung up, Whatever emergency they faced wasn't my concern. Minutes later, my phone rang again. Coach Joe. He was the only person who felt like family. The only one who truly saw me. I couldn't ignore him. His tone was softer, almost pleading. Elliot, I need you to come home. It's important. I knew my parents had orchestrated this. They knew he was the only one I'd listen to. A part of me wanted to refuse, but it was Joe. Fine, I said, my voice clipped. The drive home felt like stepping back into a life I'd escaped. Memories flooded back, sitting in the back seat, my parents ignoring me while praising Timothy. Each mile felt heavier. I didn't know what awaited, but it wasn't for them. I was coming back for Joe, and only Joe. Entering the house felt like stepping onto a poorly written stage. My father, all smiles, pretended we were a happy family. My mother sat at the kitchen table, hands clasped as if praying. I cut to the chase. Cut the drama. Get to the point. They exchanged a glance, preparing for something big. My mother spoke, her voice trembling. Elliot, it's Timothy. He has cancer. The words hung in the air, but they didn't impact me as they hoped. My father jumped in. We need your help. He needs a bone marrow transplant, and you're the only match. Why not you or Mom? I asked, raising an eyebrow. My mother's face crumpled. We're not a match. Timothy has a rare blood type, yours. I paused, then pushed back my chair. Your problem. Deal with it. I'm out. I left them in their manufactured grief. Their golden boy could have their golden sympathy. I wasn't part of their world. As I reached the door, my father grabbed my arm, on his knees, tears streaming down his face. Elliot, please, he begged. I'd never seen him like this. Desperate, vulnerable. It might have mattered once, but not now. I pulled free and headed for the door. My mother's venomous voice stopped me. You're so selfish. You're just walking away. You've always been like this, Elliot, always thinking only of yourself. I stopped, her words hitting me, not because they hurt, but because they were absurd. I turned, locking eyes with her, and saw the same cold judgment she always reserved for me. But this time, I wasn't a child. All my life, I began, my voice steady but laced with years of pain. You treated me like... Tell me, Mom, how many championships did I win? Can you name one? Tell me who filled out my university applications? Oh, right. Me. Who paid for my studies? Me again. And how many times did you even think about me after showering Timothy with money and praise? Even today, when you called, it wasn't for me. It was for him. Your only son. Not the one you gave birth to and left to rot. Well, here I am, Mom. Your rotten son. She stared, speechless. You made me this way. You made me someone who doesn't care, who doesn't need you, who doesn't owe you a damn thing. So deal with it. I turned and slammed the door. For the first time, I felt truly free. That evening, Joe called, his voice somber. Elliot, he began, pausing. Timothy's gone. He passed away today. I sat in silence. The words didn't hit me hard. It was just emptiness. They were too late to call you, Joe added, testing my reaction. Okay, I said, hanging up. I didn't ask about Lala. I could guess she wasn't there. Weeks later, a friend shared unexpected news. Lala was dead. A car crash. The girl who'd spoken of a future together, who betrayed me, had destroyed herself. Life ties up loose ends. My parents started calling weekly. I didn't answer. They'd used up all their chances. Some extended family reached out with the usual apologies and promises of change. I wasn't buying it. The only reason you're calling is because I'm all you have left. If Timothy were alive, I wouldn't exist in your world, I told them. Joe suggested therapy. I initially refused, but I realized he was right. I'd built walls I didn't know how to tear down. I started therapy. It's not easy, but I'm trying. I'm trying to mend the broken pieces of my emotional life. I don't know where this path leads, but I'm walking it. And for the first time in years, maybe, just maybe, it will be okay.